Tonight on Debate Amongst Friends, Doc and Prof will talk about the NFL draft this coming weekend. Doc and Prof will go over the most recent mock drafts and good fits and more. NBA playoffs are in full swing as the Utah Jazz have been tuning up the band and providing us with sweet rim music, as well as the new Pelican cleaning crew sweeping in Portland, and so much more starting now.
Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, welcome to Debate Amongst Friends, live on YouTube. It is April 25th, 2018. This is the 101st episode of the Sports Podcast. We appreciate you joining us on this Wednesday evening. I am your moderator, the Papa, John Gotti. And always by my side, it's Doc Ocean. How you doing tonight, sir?
It's Wednesday night, and I feel all right. And I'm ready, sir, to give the people, a sweet delight. I'm
Yes.
doing great, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good. I mean, apparently I have a new nickname. I am now the Pop.
Hey, you know, I don't even know where that came from. I mean, maybe it's because you deliver the fans, a great service, and you're the one who really gets the pop. I
That is
mean,
a lie, sir,
let's,
but I
I mean, if we're
appreciate.
looking at it, you get the pop that the Romanites and the LeBronomaniacs want their respective idols to get.
I mean, it's all for the cause. It's all for debate amongst friends, marking out amongst friends, and the premiere show of Business Amongst Friends. Duke it out.
Let me tell you this. Somebody told me this, and then we're going to move on. But someone said to me, do you want to know how you get someone or something or even a show over? And I said, well, how do you do that? He said, you proclaim yourself the greatest. So, episode 101, Doc and Prof, today, proclaim ourselves the greatest podcast duo to ever do it.
Yes, I can agree with that. I can agree with that. And I'll one up that one and say that Doc Ocean is the reigning and defending undisputed podcast champion of the world.
I just follow your lead. Oh, great leader, sir.
But, ladies
But
and
we
gentlemen,
got
we have ourselves a packed show tonight. We're going to talk about some NFL draft. We're going to talk some playoffs in the National Basketball Association. But let's get ourselves started. Tomorrow is the NFL draft. It's the moment that we've all been waiting for. We had the analysis, we had the rumors, we have the trades, and now tomorrow it's all gonna go down.
so I always look forward to the draft. It's one of my favorite things, even though it's always interesting. These are kids that are about to live their dreams. But this year, the hype really isn't there. It's not as hype as it usually is. I mean, usually there are mock drafts that go up to 5 and 6.0. I feel like this year they stopped after maybe 3. It's been pretty, to me, from what I've seen. I haven't really seen, even the NFL hasn't really put out as many mock drafts. And I imagine it's because of the top 10 teams that are drafting and the needs.
I mean,
Um,
it's probably not even just the top 10, it's just the quarterback class
uh,
has
well,
caused so much, fanfare. Even the most latest, and we'll get to, who might be picked number one and who, draft skyrocketed lately as far as the past 3 days. But I mean, it's really about these quarterbacks.
It is, and it's interesting. Every day I'm hearing a different quarterback's going to be taking number one. They all have their faults, but on the clock at this very moment is the Cleveland Browns, who've come out and said that their phone is still open
It's always
to
open.
tr- to trade that number one pick. Of course, someone would have to give a king's ransom to
They
get
have to
that
give up a
number one
lot.
overall pick. Unless you're like, I mean, even though the Giants would be fools to trade up, the Jets would be fools to trade up.
Hmm.
Only team that I could possibly see trading up in this particular situation would be the Broncos.
I
But
was gonna
let's
say
go
maybe
through
even
it.
the Patriots.
And the Patriots have some good weapons, but if I'm the Browns, I don't trade my number one overall pick to the Patriots. I trade my number four
Number
pick
four
to the
pick. Yep.
Patriots. And then I mean, not only take that 22, that 20, the 22 that they have, no, excuse me, the 23
Hmm.
and the 31, but I also take their 2019 first round pick and maybe even like a third or fourth this year.
Yes.
Because I mean, I am ransacking picks if I'm trading this number one. I want everything.
And at that point, it's the most valuable pick in all of football right now.
Especially, absolutely. But I don't know. I mean, let's look at it. I mean, let's say if the Browns stay put.
Hmm.
Obviously, there are several quarterbacks that they can take. The NFL mock draftists, the analysts here, Daniel Jeremiah, Bucky Brooks, Peter Schrager, and Rhett Lewis have them taking in order Sam Denard, Josh Allen, Sam Denard, Sam Denard. So if majority ruled, Sam Denard would be the number one pick overall, even though a lot of people feel that it should be Josh Allen.
I think it should be Josh Allen as well too. But I mean, we're talking about two pure throwers,
Hmm.
and Sam Denard just has the intangibles, now to bring it up to the next level. Whereas Josh Allen still kind of has a little bit more to work on. He's not necessarily a under center quarterback. Pretty much, I think they said like 87%, about 93% of his snaps in college was from the shotgun formation rather than under center. So, that's going to be a big transition process. But then again, I mean, we're still talking about two quarterbacks that's most likely going to be either 1-2 or 1-3.
Let me tell you the one thing that Sam Darnold has against him. And if you know me, you
Mm-hmm.
know exactly what I'm going to say.
Oh, absolutely. But tell the people.
He went to USC. And do you know who I associate with USC?
Tell them.
That bum, Carson
Carson
Palmer.
Palmer.
So, no USC quarterbacks. And I think this is something that even you said in season one that USC quarterbacks don't transition well over. Their particular pro style approach really doesn't translate to the NFL. I mean, even when you look at Mr. Butt Fumble himself,
Marcus Sanchez
exactly,
or
Mr. Butt Fumble,
Mark Butt Sanchez himself.
Mr. Mark Seymour Butts Sanchez.
Seymour Butts. Yes.
But that's what I think of when I think of USC quarterbacks. I think of Carson Palmer. I think of Seymour, and
Matt Leiter.
oh my God, what a
Yeah.
waste!
Yeah.
What a waste!
And
He
I
was so
and
good in
didn't he go
college.
number one too?
I believe he may have, I mean, it was two things against him. Number one, which isn't a huge thing, but he was a lefty, and then
Yep.
number two is the fact that he went to USC. It's just trash,
Yeah,
trash.
it's literally a curse. But I mean, I would say
Absolutely.
that is one of the biggest issues. But there's another bigger issue, and they even talked about this during the combine. And
Hmm.
I think you mentioned it, off the podcast, of course. But
Sure.
it's his commitment to, really want to put so much time into playing the quarterback position because he's also a tennis player.
Mm. See, that
So,
makes
that's something
that's
that had a lot of GMs kind of worry. And granted, it probably doesn't matter right now. Like, he's going to make buku money and,
Absolutely.
He's gonna lead whatever franchise, or just become another notch on the Browns' belt. But that's besides the point.
That
But
goes
that was
without
something
saying.
that they really, are worried about is just his commitment to really want to play the game. Like, will he spend, the off seasons trying to hone his craft more, or will he spend his off seasons, hitting the tennis courts?
Absolutely. I mean, the time will tell. I think they should go with Josh Allen. He's a big time talent. And if they don't go quarterback, they have a quarterback on the roster. They can always wait to the second or third round, try to find that Russell Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
um, or even if they wanted to find a Russell Westbrook, that would be fine. At least they know that they'll get a lot of energy. Oh, that's besides the point.
Wow.
So looking at number two, the
That was
Gi-
very anticlimactic, sir.
oh my God. So looking at number two, the New York Football Giants. They're in an intriguing spot because they have some of the pieces that they want. Obviously, there's rumors that they're going to get Dez. I mean, some
Yes.
people don't want that. I had a chance to troll a little bit, in which somebody accused me of stirring the pot, saying that Dez going to the Giants, I thought was a good idea. He was what they would have wanted out of Brandon Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but then they told me I was stirring the pot and how they hated the idea and that Brandon Marshall was a scrub and a has been. Their words, not mine.
But how is
Um,
he a scrub and a has been if he got injured? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
I think because he went to the Jets.
That
And
doesn't make any sense.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, he caught a lot of balls for the Jets, so I really don't know.
He caught a lot
Um,
of
I,
balls for the Bears when
the
he
the
was there, and
Broncos,
the
the Bears,
Broncos. Like,
yeah,
come on.
yeah. I agree. I agree. But they're in an interesting spot. The four panelists have Saquon Barkley, Bradley Chubb, Bradley Chubb. They really, really can't go wrong in this on this pick. I don't think they can go wrong. CBS actually
Unless
has
they
them.
choose a cornerback.
Well, if they choose a cornerback at number two, it's a
Mm-hmm.
terrible pick.
Yes.
But CBS Sports has them taking Sam Darnold.
Yes.
Now, that would be interesting. If they take a defensive back at number two,
Well, and I only said defensive back because, like, all I'm saying is, like, if they choose something other than offense on their second pick.
yeah, because even if they were to choose Quentin Nelson at number two, it would
Mm-hmm.
be okay. It would be perfectly fine. If they chose like a Minka Fitzpatrick or a Denzel Ward at number two,
Mm-hmm.
now you're tripping. You could have traded back to get one of those type of guys.
Absolutely.
You could have traded with the Broncos, and got a few more picks. But I really think they're going to go after Chubb. He's a difference maker. They traded, their top defensive end, JPP, to my Bucks, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty excited about. And they did bring in, which I had a conversation about it with one of my coworkers who didn't believe that Jonathan Stewart could still carry the load. Um, I don't know about that. I think Jonathan Stewart, he has been sharing time over the last 5 to 7 years.
He has.
I think he's still got a couple years left where if they drafted Barkley, they would still split time. Barkley wouldn't get the 100 he's not going to get 20, 30, 40 carries. They're going to do the same thing New Orleans did with Kamara, like bring him in slowly. But I think Chubb is the way to go in this situation. He's a defensive game changer, and the Giants defense, those overpaid. I
Pissants?
just Pissants is a good phrase.
Okay.
Yes, that's a good one. You got to excuse the doc. I mean, I've had a long day.
You almost
Uh,
said, I had to stop you because,
yeah,
Helen, put her head out
yeah,
the office. She looked dead at you.
that was good. It was
Slowly
good.
bringing the jar out of the void.
You just made the jar. It was definitely coming out. But I think them drafting Chubb would be good. It's going to give them somebody that has a good work ethic. Um, Barkley is so tempting because he's good, but I would go Chubb in this situation.
So, what caused and this is just us projecting, but let's say they choose Chubbs at 2. What
Hmm.
caused Saquon Barkley's stock to fall?
Need. It's just need. It has nothing to do with him. It's the need. It's going to be interesting, but our next topic, although they're slated to take a quarterback, the Jets, I think the Jets could easily take Barkley and well deserved. I mean, Matt Forte retired. It would be easy. But the need, I mean, the Giants need more things than a running back, and there are several quality running backs
In this
within
draft.
within this draft, first round, second round.
Yep.
You got the kids from Georgia. You got LSU kid. I mean, there are so many different players in this draft that you can get that can fit into your system. Barkley is a quote unquote once in a lifetime talent where we did see him disappear a few games, but I believe that
But that
Chubb,
was more because of play calls, not necessarily because of him.
and that's true. But the thing is, I guess he did take a few, like let's say for example, kick returns. You
Hmm.
know, listen, it takes skill to do kick returns. I mean, it not. I know the blocking has to be good, but some of them he made look really, really easy. He's got the speed. Um, you know, he just looks like a Booby Miles out there
Wow.
before the injury, of course. Like
Dang.
the guy can run it, he can throw it. Heck, if you line him up for the extra point, the boy can kick. And did I tell you he can throw too?
That's actually pretty funny.
He'll come over, cook your Sunday dinner, vacuum your floor, and wash the dishes. The boy can do it all. I'm telling you, that's the way they're advertising him, but that's it. But if he falls, I mean, it won't be because of him. It'll be primarily because of what the team feels they
Yes.
need. But the Jets are a different story.
They are a different
The,
story. At the number
the
3 pick.
the number 3 pick. Now the Jets could easily move back if they wanted to and acquire more picks,
Hmm.
but the NFL analysts have them taking Baker Mayfield. There's Sam Darnold again,
Yep.
Baker Mayfield, and then Josh Rosen. And I'm not sure. CBS also hasn't taken Josh Rosen. I think that if I'm the Jets, and this is going to sound risky, I'm going to tell you, this is going to sound so risky. But I would call the Indianapolis Colts and I would say, how do you guys feel about us trading our number 3 pick for Andrew Luck and your second round pick?
Yes.
And they swing the fence, they swing for it, and take a look. I mean, Andrew Luck obviously still rehabbing. The Colts, I don't know, they're in a state
Oh,
of
and I misspoken. It wasn't Sam Darnold that was the tennis star. It was Josh Rosen, which is why he dropped. So I apologize for
got it.
that.
No, no, that's fine. That's perfect. That's perfect. I'm glad Chris was able to, give us the quick fact check while we're doing it. But it's still important.
Yes.
Josh Rosen is still a top 5 talent, so it still makes sense. But you think about it. I mean, Jameis was a baseball player. Even Tony Romo was out there playing golf during his career. So,
Still
it,
is.
yeah. So I mean, I think questioning somebody and what they're doing is important. But the Jets, I don't know if I'm taking Baker Mayfield at 3.
I mean,
He's a
they want
winner.
they want, and it's not the fact that he's a winner. He's gritty.
He is.
Like he's the kind of quarterback that they do need because they need a quarterback that's really gonna try to will his team to win. Like kind of like a Tebow esque, except the person is more accurate. If you think about it Olympic way like that.
I really wish Tebow would have went to a quarterback, like just stayed in a quarterback camp and just learned
Hmm.
like better mechanics. Because he had the stuff.
He did. I mean, he was buff and had the stuff apparently. But I
Perfect.
mean, people just wanted him to not be a quarterback and
Be an H
just
back and a fullback and
exactly
everything else.
tight end and he's like I want to
Hmm.
play a quarterback and you know granted he did get some help but as you said he didn't necessarily go to quarterback camps like he
Right.
just went to specialists but they
Yeah,
didn't really do much to fix his mechanics, and that's what led to him to not necessarily fail because he still has a really good win percentage as a starting quarterback
a good win in the playoffs.
and a good win in the playoffs. I mean, Skip Bayless continually talks about that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, but the Jets have so many options. Quarterback seems to be what they're slated for.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they went out and got Josh McCown. They went out and got Teddy B. So to me, you go get Bridgewater. You go get you re-sign McCown. You might be able to take a quarterback in the second or third round and be fine. To me,
I think so too.
but I don't know. I would trade back if I'm them. But most likely, if anybody, I'm calling the Colts. Even if they just want to swap picks, I'm calling the Colts and saying, hey, let's make a deal. Because the Colts might want to jump up and maybe they want to go up and get, this guard, Quentin Nelson, or they want to go out and get Denzel Ward just in case, one of these other teams are thinking about it.
Yes.
But Jets, I don't know. Hopefully they don't get booed.
They're gonna get well. It's not gonna be in New York, so they won't be booed.
I think
It's
they'll get booed.
it's
Either
out
way.
here. It's out here in Dallas, or actually Arlington. Let me be more specific.
I think the Cowboys are going to get booed no matter what.
They're gonna get booed no matter what because they let
Yeah.
Dez go, and Dez is the heart and soul of the Cowboys.
Mm, right.
I'm saying that sarcastically, ladies and gentlemen.
Of course. Of course. But let's take a look here. So, number 4, we're right back up to the Cleveland Browns,
Yep.
who in the first pick they took a quarterback. Experts are saying Denard. We're hoping Allen makes more sense. And usually they pick by now. Usually the deal's already done. They've told. I don't know if they're even set.
Yep.
The GM I think hasn't told anybody who he's picking. Not even the owner of the team,
Which is
according to
good.
reports. Yeah.
Which
So
means they're really waiting to rattle the cages, so to speak.
or they've been watching the movie Draft Night
I see what
with
you did
Kevin
there.
Costner, and they're gonna pull a fast one and take a linebacker with the first overall pick.
Well, I mean, one of these mock drafts that I see had them picking up Bradley Chubbs at the number 4 spot.
And I do see that here with the number 4 pick on the NFL mock draft. That's the first one. Uh, then they have Barkley, because everybody else
Hmm.
passes on Barkley on these other draft picks,
Which is
on
like
these other.
Saquon Barkley dropping to 4 is
Hmm.
like if I'm him, I have a chip on my shoulder. I went from being the number 1 projected pick to
Hmm.
possibly being the number 4 or possibly number 5 pick. Like I'm
Yeah.
ready to destroy records.
I mean, I don't know. I think that it's interesting, and I agree with you. I do.
Hmm.
I really do. Um, I think if it was me, I would definitely want to go number 1 if I've shown the talent that he did.
Absolutely.
But when it comes to needs, just think about it
Yes.
like this: Adrian Peterson went number 7, and the people who were drafted before him, Jamarcus Russell,
Hmm.
Alvin Johnson, great career,
Hmm.
retired early.
Yep.
Joe Thomas retired this year.
Hmm. Great
Gaines
player.
Adams,
Definitely a Hall of Famer.
absolutely. Gaines Adams, bust. May he rest in peace, of course, because he's no
Of
longer
course.
with us. Levi Brown had a great career with the Cardinals. He might still
Hmm.
be playing. And LaRon Landry, for the Redskins, great player. But imagine, I mean, if Oakland takes Adrian Peterson rather than Jamarcus Russell and drafts another quarterback in the second round,
Then we're
uh,
looking at a potential, dynasty right there.
just think about it like this: the Redskins could have taken Kevin Kolb and gotten better results in
Exactly.
the 2007 draft. Even somebody like Trent Edwards would have been better at this point than Jamarcus Russell. But that's neither here nor there. So I mean, I
Of
don't think
course.
he's gonna. I think he's gonna appreciate the fact that he got drafted top 5, um,
Dead or alive.
and that's just off one LP. Um, and I think he'll be okay. If I'm Cleveland, I would consider taking Barkley, but the only thing about it is, it's like if they take Barkley number one, that means they lose out on Chubb.
Yes.
But if they leave Barkley out there, they take a quarterback, they kind of make the Giants like sink or swim. Like it's really on the Giants. Like, hey, who you guys want?
I
Because
really
whoever
think that the Browns will definitely take a quarterback with the number one pick.
they have to, and because if they don't, I mean, they'll get whoever the cast out is. The
Exactly.
Josh Rosen potentially.
Or possibly even Baker Mayfield.
Right. And they leave themselves open for a team like, if they trade or they don't take a quarterback first, you know, they leave themselves vulnerable to that. But I think if they were to take a quarterback and they were to get Chubb or Barkley, they've won the first round.
Absolutely.
But that's neither here nor there. I mean, we'll see exactly what happens. I'm hoping they make the right decision, and don't go through with the knife incision. But I mean, hopefully somebody's there that they want. They don't do anything crazy,
Hmm.
and they get the players that they need. Um, Now, the fifth pick is interesting. Unanimous. The NFL analysts have them taking Josh. Oh wait, no,
Mm-mm.
almost Josh Allen. Josh Rosen got one vote, but I don't think Josh Allen's going to be there at 5. I think Rosen will be there. I don't think Allen's going to be there. I really don't believe that. And then for CBS Sports, they have the Broncos actually getting Chubb.
I don't think Chubb's going to be available at five.
I don't think he's going to be available at 5 either.
He's not going to be available at five.
He's going to be
Chubbs with
gone.
Miles Garrett, that's formidable.
It is. It would be ridiculous. But they're thinking, you know, Chubb with Von Miller.
And that could happen
Now, the only way that would happen is if the Giants take Barkley, I would expect the Broncos to call the Jets
immediately.
immediately and say, "Hey, listen, we'll give you the 5. We'll give you our second pick and something whatever next year for this third pick, so that we can take Bradley Chubb to pair him with Von Miller. Fourth pick, at this point, this kind of screws the Browns over a little bit. They
Hmm.
take the next best player or they trade down. Maybe the Browns take Quentin Nelson, the guard out of Notre Dame, or they take Denzel Ward, who's one of the better corners in the draft, or they trade down. But the Broncos could really, really mess things up here.
They can. I
You know,
actually, in one of the mock drafts I'm looking at right now, they actually has the Broncos doing a trade with the
hmm
Buffalo Bills.
to get out of there to take a quarterback.
Yes, so the Bills ended up picking Josh Allen.
Hmm, interesting. I don't think the Broncos. I mean, do the Broncos don't really need a quarterback at this stage?
I think
Not in
they
the first.
do.
Not in the first round. Not in the first round.
Well, and they go down to the 12, and they end up picking up Josh Rosen, which I think would probably be a better fit for them.
Josh Rosen would fall to 12 unless, and this is a big unless,
Of course.
the Patriots feel compelled to trade those 2 picks to move up to then the 11th pick with the Dolphins,
Hmm.
who are also potentially looking for a quarterback, but no quarterbacks might be available at that time. And that's where it gets
Well,
interesting.
no higher in
No higher.
high
Oh,
high profile quarterbacks are available
got it. I
because
take that back. High
I
profile.
see the Patriots actually getting Lamar Jackson,
That would be nice.
which would be like first of all astronomically just amazing. That they're getting a dual threat quarterback on their roster.
That's true. That is true. I mean, we're definitely going to see it. I mean, I know that I read a report earlier today that said that the Packers would be looking to move up to get a primetime player. So there's still some things that are kind of still shaking out. But let's just say that the Broncos stay put.
Yep.
Chubb is off the board.
Mhm.
Barkley's off the board. Denard's off the board. And, they're stuck there with either Rosen or Allen. I mean, really, we're thinking that it's just going to be Rosen.
Yeah, I think it could be Rosen.
It would either be Rosen or Denard to me. I don't know. I think the Jets might be enamored with Mayfield, as you mentioned, but I'm just not even sure.
I mean, you see Denard falling.
Only because of that USC. That's it.
I think it's too sexy for the Browns to skip. Like if the Browns doesn't pick him, then I can see the Giants picking him up.
If the Giants were to pass on Barkley and Chubb, that would change the whole dynamic of the draft. Because you think about it, the Jets would still take a quarterback. The Browns at 4 would get Barkley or Chubb. At 5, if the Broncos take Chubb, at 6, the Colts, I mean, they have a lot of needs, but I don't know if they would take Barkley. So now you're looking at 7, where
Hmm.
I don't think the Bucks are going to even be able to even think about passing on Barkley.
They'll totally
So
think of passing on Barkley.
I don't think so. I don't know, but we'll get there. We're about to
Of
hit
course.
6 at the Colts, but the Browns and the Broncos at this point, and actually, I would just say the Giants control the draft to me when I'm looking at it.
The Giants is the linchpin of how the rest of the first round is gonna play out, or at least the rest of the top 10 picks
Top,
play out.
absolutely. It can get crazy. But looking at number 6, as I mentioned, the Colts have a lot of needs. I see cornerback, I see Quentin Nelson, the guard, and then I see a projected trade with the Dolphins for them to come up and get Baker Mayfield. Um, I like those ideas, um, but I'm not sure. And even in the mock draft for CBS, they have the Colts even receiving Shaquan Barkley at number 6.
I feel like CBS is trying to really like light a fire underneath Shaquan Barkley.
I mean,
I don't know if they're ready to or even fathom like what could possibly happen.
yeah, it it's so rough because they have a lot of needs. I mean, they do need a corner. Nelson is a fit anywhere on the board. Anybody in the top 10 could take Nelson and be
Absolutely.
good. Um, but them trading out of the top 10 to 11, I mean, I don't know.
It'd be nuts.
And in that pick, they take a defensive end, Marcus Davenport out of Texas, San Antonio.
Hmm. And I see them taking Virginia Tech linebacker Tremaine Edwards with the Colts.
And Tremaine Edwards is good too. That's the thing about it. Um, hmm. If they would have stayed there and they took Denzel Ward, I think it would be fine. If they took Quentin Nelson, to be fine.
Hmm.
If they traded out and missed out on some of these players, um, which I'm surprised Roquan Smith isn't going higher than he is. If I'm the Colts, I might be looking at Roquan Smith before Tremaine Edwards. I love Roquan Smith from Georgia,
Which is funny because the number 7 pick,
which is the Bucks.
which is your Buccaneers, you this well at least on this one they have them picking up Derwin James.
Now, so the thing with Derwin James, so all the mock drafts I have, it's either we're taking Quentin Nelson, Derwin James, or Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yep.
So I would be fully on board with them taking Quentin Nelson if he's available. Derwin James and Minka Fitzpatrick, I'm so kind of caught in a spiral because number one, we drafted an Alabama defensive back years ago in Mark Barron. I'm sure that Minka Fitzpatrick is a good player and he's probably far better than Mark Barron.
Yes.
But Derwin James gets the pass because, of course, he's from Florida.
Hmm.
He went to Florida State. Obviously, the connection to Jameis. Jameis is like, listen, I know Derwin. He's a good player, but Minka though. I mean, Minka's everywhere, and he'll bring a nastiness that we would want. But that Quentin Nelson pick with J.R. Sweezy not being 100%, at that guard spot, it's hard to pass on Quentin Nelson.
I can agree with you.
But I think they're going to take Derwin James. I have a high feeling they're going to take Derwin James.
I mean, and everything is still dependent on what the Giants pick at number 2.
Exactly, because listen, if the Giants take Quentin Nelson at number 2, that just moves everything, and everybody has to take their boards, flip them upside down, and kind of start from scratch almost. But that's what I think. I think the Bucks take James because of the Florida State connection, because of the need that we have. I think Derwin James can play corner, so he might be able to play some nickel, which I don't know if I'm all for drafting a number 1 pick to play nickel, of course, which is why I would prefer Nelson. But I think they're really leaning towards James. But either way, I'll be happy. I'm happy with the guys that we're looking at least. But if Barkley's there, it kind of throws a little wrench. And to a point where if Barkley's there, I could see them fielding offers to move down. But let's look at number 8. The Bears are a very, very interesting team. Another team that has needs.
A lot of them.
Yeah, so for the NFL analysts, they have the Bears taking Tremaine Edmonds, Denzel Ward, and then, of course, as I mentioned, if we pass on Quentin Nelson, Quentin Nelson's there. And CBS also has the Bears landing Quentin Nelson. He's been said he's also another once-in-a-lifetime player, a 10 to 15 year starter if you draft him. He's not going to give you any troubles. Notre Dame has these great offensive linemen, and he could just be another one that plays for the Bears, which I like to fit. But an inside middle linebacker is something that's always been a staple for the Bears throughout their history. They've always had a good middle linebacker, and Tremaine Edmonds is that guy. So
I feel like you're only saying that so you can get Quentin Nelson for the previous pick.
I mean, I hate to put it like that, but I mean, if I was being,
hey,
biased,
this is the place to be biased because it's your team, man.
I mean, I think Quentin Nelson is a better prospect than a lot of guys. It would be hard to even see the Colts passing him up, but I mean, the Colts are, I don't know, they're the Colts right now.
Yeah.
But I think at the number 8 spot, I would see them taking Edmonds or Nelson at that pick. I mean, that's just it. And again, CBS hasn't taken Nelson, which makes sense.
Yes.
Number 9, I don't care what nobody say. If the 49ers pass on Roquan Smith, I will probably lose it.
They might not pass on Roquan Smith. I mean, this other one has them picking up Denzel Ward, but it's really hard. Like,
it is.
Like, if Roquan Smith ended up going all the way down to 19 to the Cowboys, that's when I become livid.
It would be ridiculous, but CBS has them taking Minkah Fitzpatrick, which is not bad.
It's still not a bad pick.
But Roquan is a difference maker.
A potential
and if he
difference
falls,
maker.
I mean, I just think he's a difference maker. If he was to fall somehow, some crazy way to the Falcons and plays in Atlanta, I think I would lose it. And that's falling past the Cowboys to 26. I probably would lose it. And then rounding up at number 10, because I really think all these other guys are going to be off the board. I see that one analyst has them taking Mike McGlinchey from Notre Dame, who most drafts I've seen him in the late first round, even second round in some situations.
Mm.
Um, but number 10
Yeah,
for
I
the
see him going.
Raiders.
I see it on this other one. They're going down to 25 to the Titans.
Yeah,
You know,
he's a good
the
player.
the Duke's team. And maybe after the draft we can get his intake on how he feel his team did.
True. This is true. Actually, our NC Brony is actually a Titan fan also.
Oh no, the NC Brownie.
Yes, NC Brony is actually a Titan fan. I didn't tell him that was his name yet, but he's gonna learn. He's gonna learn
I
it.
mean, if he's listening right now, he'll
Uh,
learn.
he will. He's if you're a Titan fan and you just so happen to like LeBron and you know who you are, then you are the NC Brony.
The realest Brony in the room.
And you can't teach that.
I see what you did there. I like that though.
but number but number 10, the Raiders, Jay Riddy's team. Um, 10 is a good spot. They can't really go wrong. They have Minka Fitzpatrick here, Roquan Smith,
Yep.
Rosen, a trade to the Cardinals, who take Josh Rosen, and then Roquan Smith again. CBS also has them taking Roquan Smith. I love Roquan Smith in any system. I think he's a baller. If we, excuse me, if we didn't have our set linebacking core, and even still, just thinking about it, I wish
Because you
that
just want to have them do a trade.
yes, like I would be so willing because I don't really believe in our strong side linebacker. So I feel like Roquan Smith would just, I mean, he would just fit, and we would just draft corners and running backs later. It's so hard to draft because there's so many good players. Um, but I can see the Raiders taking Minka Fitzpatrick or Roquan Smith. I don't think Roquan Smith gets past this 11th pick if he's even there. So I'm gonna agree with the Minka Fitzpatrick trade.
The Minka
The
Fitzpatrick
draft,
pick.
the pick, yeah, Minka
Okay.
Fitzpatrick pick.
I was like, wait, there's a
Excuse,
trade?
sorry,
Well, I
that's
mean,
the pick.
let's talk about your Buccaneers for a second, because this is draft time. I'm
It
gonna
is.
grill you for a little bit.
Don't grill
If,
me.
if, if
Uh-huh.
you had the opportunity, you're the Bucks GM. You had the opportunity to get up to number 5. So that's the Broncos pick,
Mm-hmm.
and you're now at number 5. Who are you choosing at number 5?
If we're at number 5, that would mean that
And
either
I'm only
Chubb
saying
or
that because the Broncos are most likely to make a trade.
this is true.
Either the Broncos
So
or the I think it's the Bears.
so if I'm the GM, I wouldn't trade up to number 5. I mean, but if I did, it would depend on what the first four teams did. If the Browns took, let's just throw quarterbacks. The Browns took a quarterback, Giants took a quarterback, you know, the Jets took a quarterback, and then the four pick, let's say the Browns took, Barkley, and we have an opportunity to get, a Chubb. I mean, you take Chubb. I mean that's it. You build your rotation. You take Chubb, and you're happy that you got Chubb. Just like last year we waited, and we waited, and I would have never ever thought that we would have took OJ Howard, a tight end in the first round, ever. But
Which
if
turned
we're
out pretty
waiting,
well for you.
yeah, I think he's gonna be
For the
good.
most part. I mean, he got
Yeah,
hurt a little bit, and then the
he
team kind
did.
of got into an offensive slump. But next year it might be better.
It might be better. I mean, but I think if we're at 5 and Bradley Chubb is there, we're not passing on Bradley Chubb.
Okay, I just wanted to find out, like, would you still stick your guns on Bradley Chubb, or would you
I,
try to go for your boy Roquan Smith?
oh, I wouldn't go for Roquan at 5. If I'm gonna go for Roquan, I would just take him at 7 because he's not going top 6. I would just take him at 7, or I would trade back and possibly just try to take him at 9 at 8. I guess I'll trade back one spot, try to get an extra pick, and then take him at 8.
Got it.
Um, you know, but I don't know. I like him though. I like him a lot. That's all I can really say.
I know.
Um, but looking around the other picks, any other teams, that you're really looking forward to that draft? I know one in particular that I'm looking at that makes sense to me, and that's the Arizona Cardinals.
Hmm.
Uh, Three analysts have them taking Calvin Ridley, which I was really, really hoping that maybe the Cowboys take Calvin Ridley.
No, I don't think Calvin Ridley's going to be on the board by the time it hits 19.
I mean, they would make a move up to get Calvin Ridley because I mean, Calvin Ridley's getting picked at 15. I know I already mentioned that the Packers are going to be looking to move up, so I don't know if they're going to move where they're going to move to.
Hmm.
Um, but I would. I know that the Cowboys, are looking at some wide receivers, but the best wide receiver is going to the Arizona Cardinals at this particular time, based on his production in college, of course.
Absolutely.
Um,
I mean,
but
I actually, this other one shows Calvin Ridley going to the Redskins.
I could see that. I don't like this mock draft here by Daniel Jeremiah, where he has the Redskins taking Darius Geis way too early.
That's way too early.
Yeah, it was
I
one
don't
point.
think that justify it.
Yeah, there was one point that this Vita Vea got a defensive tackle from Washington. He actually was a top 10 guy. I know the Bucks were linked to him for a while. I'm kind of glad we didn't go that route, but he
Hmm.
was linked to us for a while, and they had the Redskins taking him there. But I don't know about guys at 13.
No, but I mean, you talk to those Cowboys. Their first round pick would most likely still be a wide receiver. It has to be a wide receiver.
CBS has him drafting a linebacker from Boise State.
Mm.
Mm. And even this one here, Cortland Sutton, DJ Moore, Tavern Bryan, and then Cortland Sutton, excuse me. DJ Moore, I heard a lot of great things from Maryland. I think he could definitely come in and play good. Sutton, I'm not too familiar with, and defensive tackle from Florida, Bryan, I think he's a good fill there. But I don't know
Hmm.
if they need a defensive tackle. They need a wide receiver
They need
there.
a wide receiver, and this one's projected to have them pick James Washington from Oklahoma State.
James Washington. Let me see where CBS has them taken. James Washington.
Going to the Raiders in the second
The
round.
Raiders in the second round. Hmm. Again, booed. I feel strongly that they're going to get booed.
If the Cowboys choose anything other than a wide receiver, they will be booed.
This is true. But you want to know a team that I feel like we're not talking about that might need a quarterback that I do see one analyst picking a quarterback for them. That's the
The
Pittsburgh
Patriots?
Steelers.
Oh,
No, the
Steelers, you're right.
because I mean, you never know. I mean, Big Ben could just come out tomorrow and just
It just says,
say,
I'm done. Bye.
"I'm done." Yeah, I mean, although I think he might have committed to this next year. Um, he, they need to start preparing for a future. And I mean, immediately. I
Yes.
know that the Patriots are thinking down the line, but I really believe that they need to start looking for a quarterback themselves.
Yes. And CBS
Um,
shows that they're potentially trying to get CBS Sports. Um,
hmm
Lamar Jackson.
So it would be interesting if they were able to swing Lamar Jackson, but as you mentioned, I think Lamar might be gone within the top 20.
Hmm.
Um, if anything, he might not make it to past 23. Um,
Which
that's
this one, the article I'm looking at, which is landof10.com, shout out to them,
mhm.
have
Mhm.
him going to the New England Patriots.
So if I'm the Buffalo Bills, I'm taking the best skill player at 12,
Hmm.
and if he's available, I'm taking Lamar Jackson at 22.
Yeah.
I mean, you win, or if Lamar Jackson's gone and let's say, it just so happens that Mason Rudolph falls down, you take Mason Rudolph.
Hmm.
I mean, you don't lose in that situation. Any other teams that you're looking forward to seeing their draft?
I mean, what about the reigning, defending Super Bowl champs?
I was gonna look at them. Looks like the analysts have them taking Sony Michelle, that tackle again, Eminem from Notre Dame. I'm not even gonna try to say that last name and butcher it again. Uh,
Hilarious.
Isaiah Oliver out of Colorado, the cornerback, and center Billy Price out of Ohio State. CBS Sports also has them taking Oliver out of Colorado.
Hmm.
Obviously, they've retooled. They have some great players coming in. The Sony Michelle pick is only because they lost LeGarrette Blunt.
Yes.
Um, but again, I don't think they would take Michelle. I think they would take Chubb if that was the case because they would need a bigger back to
Hmm.
replace Blunt. But most likely it's probably going to be the latter, either the Isaiah Oliver or the Billy Price. I can see that happening.
Uh, Land of Ten shows that they will be picking Ronnie Harrison, safety of Alabama.
Never, never in a million years
You sound
will
so sure too.
will he be there for the last pick of the draft. Never.
I mean, where do you see him going then?
Even I mean, because even CBS Sports has him going the second round. I cannot see him falling out of the first round. I could see, I could see the Steelers even taking him before he goes to the second round. Um, Maybe the Vikings, who haven't signed Harrison Smith yet.
Hmm.
Um, Even the Patriots, they take Rashawn Evans with one pick, and they take the other Alabama player with the next pick. But I do not see him going last or to the second round. He's really good. If he does, I'd be shocked, really shocked.
I mean, you're gonna have
And
to
that just goes to show you that you know taking what you need in the first round is okay because of how deep the draft is.
absolutely.
Like if you can get him in the second round, then you already know that this is your year to really get better. Just in my opinion, of course.
No, no, that's a great opinion.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, I think that it's gonna be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. Maybe we can try to do some live reactions tomorrow. Definitely follow our social media platforms just in case we happen to jump on and record a quick video. I know I might actually record my reaction to Tampa Bay's pick. So look out for that. Um, of course, just I look forward to it. I always look forward to the draft.
As am I. And
Yeah,
for me, it's more of a, GM perspective, how things
I,
are gonna, you know, change. What
absolutely,
kind of trades are gonna happen, and the
I,
aftermath of both picks.
absolutely. But we've come to the conclusion of our NFL, coverage. I mean, can we get to the hardwood? I mean, there's so much going on. I mean, I think in New Orleans they opened up a cleaning company, took it to Portland. There was some sweeping going on.
Oh
I,
no!
I mean, I think there's some music being played in Utah, and it sounds kind of like Swish. I mean, my goodness, what in the world is going on?
I mean,
Um,
let's take a moment and talk about the only sweep in these playoffs.
oh my
And I
goodness,
believe I said it's going to at least be one team that's going to get
you
swept,
did,
and
you
it's not
did,
going to be a top seed.
you did, you did.
But who knew? Who knew that it was going to be the New Orleans Pelicans? Like, it was the best case scenario for them to go against a heavy offensively dependent Trailblazer team because
Can't
people got exposed. Like, let's just call it for what it is. Like, people got exposed.
Don't let me expose you to the folks that don't know you. I mean that's a Jay-Z line, and I live by it. And I'm gonna tell you, Dame and CJ got exposed.
Yes, and not
I
not so
mean,
much as CJ, especially the fourth game, which was the last game.
oh, we're gonna talk about that.
Dame,
You know we're gonna talk about that fourth game.
it got exposed.
Oh my God. So I mentioned off stream that game four, they were in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And all I can say is, Terry Stotts had this look on his face like, let the boys fight.
Let the boys fight.
Because I mean, I saw, the other coach on the other side. He's like, come on, guys, back up. Nobody wants to get suspended out here. We're just trying to play some basketball. And Terry Stotts was kind of looking like, fight, 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 fight. Let them fight. Let them fight. But
Let the young boys fight.
Alvin Gentry was sitting back like, no, we're not getting kicked out of this game. Let's just. But Stouts was like, man, this is the most I've seen my team actually play. Interesting stat about Terry Stotts. He's actually 6'8". I never even noticed that he was six
Mm-hmm.
eight. That's pretty crazy. But um, yeah, they went out like suckers.
They went out with a whimper. Not even a hands up. They just went out with a whimper.
It was very sad, actually. But I mean, shout out to the Pelicans. They played strong. Rondo, playoff Rondo.
Playoff Rondo.
He really showed his veteran leadership. He was, you know, typical Rondo, getting in the heads of the opposing player, drawing some technicals, really pushing the envelope, which got them, part of what got them to the next round. Anthony Davis, obviously, and Drew Holiday.
Yeah, I mean, and Drew Holiday, has been slept on a
He's
lot.
always he's always been good. I mean, he was in Indiana, wasn't he? Was he in
He was in
Indiana?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Yeah,
And he was good in Philadelphia. So I think his brother in Indiana. One of the holidays is
yeah,
somewhere. Okay.
yeah.
But yeah, he was always good. I felt like it wasn't
With a
really
B and
a
Nick, but yeah.
right, right. But I just feel like yeah, you're right though. He has been good. I don't know why they're surprised and shocked. He's always had his moments,
Hmm.
and I mean, this team looks good. They
This
look really
team, and going into the next round, and we're going to talk about the other team that they're going to be facing off against. I
yes.
mean, there's potential.
You want to know what the analyst said? The analyst said, "Thank God that the Warriors have a big man that might be able to keep up with Anthony Davis. That
Are they s-
might.
are they
That's what.
serious?
That's why they use the word might. He's gonna try. He's gonna try his best. I mean, the only thing he can do is be physical with him.
That's all that he can do.
That's it. I mean, but I mean, the only thing about Anthony Davis is like he's gonna be out at the 3 point line. He's quick.
Yep.
Um, it's gonna be a tough task, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's gonna be Kevin Durant on Anthony Davis.
Yeah. That's probably
But
going to be the marquee matchup right there for the next series.
absolutely, I look forward to it.
I mean, and even still, like, and we could talk about the Warriors right now, their opponents. I mean,
Mhm.
that was a hard fought, closeout game for them.
It was. It was, and we didn't even get a chance to really talk about, the previous game where, Patty Mills is out there, rolling ankles better than Kurt Angle.
Hmm.
I mean, he was out there, really playing hard to kill out there. Like, I mean, he was really, I mean, the game was over, and I mean, I saw KD get his ankle rolled, and then Sean Livingston gets his ankle rolled the next play. It
Yep.
was like, what in the world is going on? And they've already ruled Steph out till at least game two or three of this next series.
Which could be bad. I mean, even though they beat a, you know, morally deprived Spurs team that had a
Yeah.
spark from 40-year-old Manu Ginobili,
Yes.
like that brings a lot of doubt for this next series for them. Like I think they might be down 2-1. If Steph
I,
only if Steph comes back game 4, they might be down 2-1.
I agree. I think that KD is gonna have to almost play the whole game.
He's gonna have to play the whole game.
Yeah, or they're gonna try to have to get Anthony Davis in foul trouble early. That's the only way that they can win this. Only way
Well,
that
the
they
only
can win
way
it
they do that
easily.
is if KD attacks the rim, the first half.
He's gonna have to. He leaves them no options, no options at all.
KD do what LeBron James should always do.
Agreed. And really the same also for the next one of the next series we're going to talk. Actually, the next two series we're going to talk about. We just stick in the West. Really, to me at least, the actual series of the playoffs so far, Utah and Oklahoma City. One of the,
That is the
I mean, one
series
of them.
of the playoffs. One of them, yes.
I'm going to tell you, Utah is tuning up the band out there.
Utah smells blood.
And I'm going to tell you, they are making the big three of the Oklahoma City Thunder look like trash. TAS. That's right.
TAS. Oh, wait. And be
Get the
sure to
t-shirt.
catch the brand new
That's right.
trash t-shirt on teesprings.com slash store slash debate amongst friends. The newest gear. It is out there for everyone to enjoy. But yes, the big three for OKC is looking like trash. Dare I even say, look like the old Lakers team with Kobe, Shaq, the glove, and the mailman.
They look like a big two out there because Carmelo is still
Carmelo,
somewhere
Carmelo is like
wandering,
is
wandering
still
around in New
on his
York.
way from New York to
Yes.
Oklahoma City. His car got stuck somewhere on the 40.
Someone even mentioned that he lost his hoodie.
Wow. I mean, hopefully someone made a meme of that because that would be hilarious.
That
Oh
would be.
gosh.
But yeah, I think that
I
what.
just thought of a meme. Picture this: Carmelo
Oh,
Anthony with the hot face, and then over on the side it's Kermit the Frog with the hoodie on.
oh my goodness. I just think that they have just. I mean, obviously Russ is going to come out and play his little heart out like he always
Well, and
does.
and that's part of the issue
Hmm.
with the last game.
He got in foul trouble.
He got in foul trouble and he was just playing too recklessly. Like there's
He
a
was.
good reckless that he plays as where he has no abandonment for human nature. And he
Hmm.
just, wants to yam on every single big man on the opposing team, possibly even his own team. But the last game, he just played like a man who was just desperate to try to prove something to the world. And it backfired.
Hmm. It did. It did. But I think Utah's just outplaying them. I think the games that they won, Utah just outplayed them. I think most of the games they were down and they just came back and won.
Mm-hmm.
And Oklahoma City didn't have an answer for it. To me, I'm letting Russ take threes.
Absolutely.
I'm letting Carmelo take threes at this point because he's just not hitting them. So Oklahoma City's going to have to get back to more of a pounding. I think Carmelo needs to give up his jump shot and really just start driving the ball. That's his only way to score. But I think Utah's going to take this series. I don't see them losing three straight games. I think it's over. Utah, which by the way, Rockets win. We're in. Of course, we're finishing this series hopefully tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Back home.
so glad. I'm going to repeat that. So glad that Utah is winning this series. Even if we were to get to the next series and lose to Utah, I'd rather lose to Utah than Oklahoma City. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Even though I don't believe that, I believe that we're gonna make it to the Western Conference Finals. I feel like playing Utah is a little easier for us than playing Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yes.
For me, that's my perspective. I'd rather play Utah. What an easy, not easy, but a simple road to the conference finals. Usually, you think about it. Think about the repercussions of us being number one opposed to number two, like the Warriors. San Antonio, New Orleans, number one. Minnesota, Utah.
Yep.
I mean, this could lead us to the championship. So, um,
I
speaking
mean,
of
and,
you,
and that's if your team close it out tonight.
which I believe that we will. What a great third quarter, 50-point third quarter, ladies and gentlemen. But I don't even want to talk about the Rockets. I really want to talk about Minnesota and potentially what Q Mark's been saying all along about Tibbs. Um, the Timberwolves have some great assets. But I actually had a friend of mine over this week while we were watching the game on Monday, CJ, and he's a former center. He's actually 7'2", former center here, and he was watching Karl Anthony Towns.
I have to
Now
shake his hand because he's an actual center versus me
he
not being
is,
a center.
he is, and we were watching Karl Anthony Towns, and I'm gonna tell you the one thing about Karl Anthony Towns that is kind of frustrating is that if you watch him when he catches by the time he catches the ball,
Hmm.
he's at least 18 to 20 feet away from the rim.
Yes.
He posts about 8 to 10, but usually when the Rockets, we switch on every pick and roll. We don't do. I mean, our players are supposed to be playing, whatever. So James Harden usually is on, you know, the 4 or the 5, whoever's playing. But I noticed with Cat, by the time he gets the ball, the guard, even if it's Chris Paul, has pushed him all the way back at least to the 20-foot mark.
Yes.
And then he doesn't back them back down. He tries to drive past them. He tries to do whatever. And it's like Shaq and Chuck are just ripping on him. Kenny's just like, what are you doing? Take advantage of these guys. And that is why they only won one game so far. Now, CJ said, and this is a quote specifically from him, your boy is playing too much Fortnite.
Hilarious.
And CJ will be on one of the shows in the near future. But that is exactly what he said. Look at him. He just looks like he's been playing too much Fortnite and he needs to get some rest.
And that might be it. It could
He
be as
said
simple as just taking a nap.
he said him and Ben Simmons be up all night playing Fortnite. Ben Simmons, all he does is pass the ball, rebound, score 10 to 15 points. But Cat's got to bang all night with these other centers.
Hmm.
So it's a little different. So I think if we're able to have a run, which I love what Chris Paul did, we were up by 30, and Chris Paul's just like, don't take your foot off the gas.
Yep.
Let's let's bury him, and that makes a big difference.
Because he's like, people are still saying they've never been to a conference finals. This is my year.
James Harden's here too. I think to get back there, and all
And
these
breaking
guys.
news: the Raptors now has a 3-2 lead on the Wizards in their series.
So I think that's going to go 7.
Yeah, Toronto. I don't know why they've just been on cruise control, and I think that's going to cost them, you know, potential rest.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it
Because
is what it is with them.
you think about it, they go 7, and even we're going to get to the West though. But Cleveland, Indiana might go 6 or 7. I mean, those guys going to be tired, and I'm going to tell you that those other two teams that are at the bottom, they're not going to lay up on those other guys. So,
No.
Philadelphia, that process is something special, but we're going to get there. But last thing for the Rockets, a historic 50-point third quarter where
Hmm.
James Harden, where I actually went to get 2 slices of pizza, and I came back and he had scored about 10 to 15 points. I turned to talk to CJ. I turned back. He scored another 7 points. So it was ridiculous. Like we were only up 50. I think we were up by 51 to 50. And then I looked back and we were up by 20. I
Hmm.
mean, if the Timberwolves, who we're about to tip off soon in a couple minutes, if they
Yep.
can't get their act together,
They're going home.
they're going home. Tell the world
They're going
we're
home.
going. But let's look at the East. You know, Obviously, we have one team that has moved on. The process itself, the Philadelphia 76ers,
Oh, don't let
who,
Stephen A. Smith hear you say that.
what? That they followed the process?
Yeah.
I mean, they did. I
They
mean,
did.
it was a stupid process when it was going on. It was
But
terrible.
right now it's showing it's paying off.
It's showing it's paying off, but it shows a problem with the NBA also, an underlining problem as far as with tanking. Philadelphia had to tank for about 5 or 6 years
They
to
did.
get this process underway, where other teams just so happen to get stars. These guys actually built a team similar to what the Warriors did, but the
Mm-hmm.
Warriors actually were winning still and still built a good franchise.
Yep.
The 76ers had to lose to a fighting Miami team.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
that, and we could possibly see, Flash for the last time.
which was kind of, I understood what he was saying. He didn't want to give his retirement speech or anything like that in Philadelphia, but I was actually more interested in something that we had talked about, the matchup between Embiid and Whiteside,
Yes, which turned out to not be up to the hype.
because of the time. It seems like Whiteside didn't play as much time as he would hope for. So now there's
Mm-hmm.
reports that are saying that he's going to be traded.
That'd be ridiculous. And hopefully, the name that's on that list is not Cleveland. Because I'd be very upset.
I don't see. I think that if the
See, you can't even think about it right now because you're just like, that'd be so bad.
well, what I'm thinking is if the Cavs would have capitalized on the, I can't even say his attractiveness. Like if they would have capitalized on his beginning of the season or even last season's,
Mm-hmm.
stats, they could have traded Tristan Thompson potentially and picked up, Whiteside, like maybe during that Dwayne Wade trade. Um, I don't know. It's interesting to say the least. But at this point, Whiteside will probably wind up going. He probably will go to another East team. Um, it's just a matter of which team that's going to be. I don't think it's going to be Cleveland though. If I'm Washington, I'm moving on from Gortat this year, and maybe they bring him there.
That's a possibility.
You know,
That's highly
or
possible.
or if the Heat follow the the coach Popovich rule and don't send him anywhere east, then he's going out west.
Which could
Um,
be greatly beneficial for a rising Western Conference team.
Absolutely, none of the teams that are in the playoffs, of course, but
No.
because most of them have pretty solid bigs. Um, yeah, most of us have pretty solid bigs. So it has to be somebody that's not in the playoffs. Maybe a team. Well, see, I can't even say the Nuggets because they have a pretty solid big.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting.
I mean,
Um,
unless the Clippers decide to move on from DeAndre Jordan.
which they should.
But that's
They
here or
probably
there.
that is here or there. That is here or there. But let's talk about some of the other series. Obviously, we talked about Toronto, Washington a little bit. I think it's going seven.
It's
I think
definitely going
John
seven.
yeah, John Wall is still a beast. Bradley Beal. I like the energy that I see from Washington's bench. I think Toronto, as you mentioned, they have grown stagnant and they are kind of just cruising. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
don't I don't see a hunger from them that are going to get them past Cleveland or Indiana.
Nope.
So even if they get past this round, I don't think it's going to happen.
It's gonna be rough for them. I
Yes.
mean, Toronto looked like world beaters, but I mean, at the same time, it's just I don't know. It's just like, oh well, we're the number one seed, ha ha ha, kind of thing. Like it doesn't pan well, and at that point, that's more of a coaching problem.
hmm And
Dwayne
this is a
Casey needs to
coach,
get into, not the entire team, but to his 2 stars.
and this is a coach of the year candidate.
This is a coach of the year candidate. And it's a Coach of the Year candidate that Professor John Gotti did not choose to vote for.
Mhm. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see him getting it. I mean, he would definitely have to win at least this series to even be in
I
consideration
don't think he
still.
can do it.
I don't either.
I don't think he can do it.
I don't either. And just a news update on this on the Cleveland Indiana game. Right now, Indiana's down 89-95
Yep.
to the Cavs. So that game's still going on, and as John Gotti mentioned, Toronto won 108-98, and Houston should be beginning soon. But let's talk about this Cleveland Indiana series. Obviously, the last game, Cleveland barely escaped. It was around this particular time in the game that they won the last game, but it was also the time of the game where they lost the previous game.
Yes.
So 3 minutes and 33 seconds, anything can happen in this game.
Anything can happen. Last game of the year. Can't leave anything back.
You just can't do that. Um,
The Jazz and the Thunder just tipped off.
did they?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting that they're letting all these games play at the same time. They must
It's
be
on different
hard.
channels. It should
Must be
be
hard to get.
yeah.
Must be hard to get TV time these days. I don't know what's going on.
I mean, they're just trying to, crunch everything in.
I
I
see.
mean, they're playing four
Uh,
games today, which is great. Like, this is perfect.
yes, it is. It's just you can't watch them all at the same time.
I mean, that's why we have technology,
This
sir.
is true. This is true. But we know what we're getting from Cleveland and Indiana. I mean, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be a battle. I will say that they've been calling it a little closer this year. There have been some crazy things. We did see an example of obvious, clear, and blatant travel. Finally, finally, we saw a blatant travel, by Lance,
hmm
which, there was actually just an article about that on Bleacher Report.
I'm mad that they really
Um,
made an article about a travel call.
well, people still continue to say that James Harden travels, which I'll give credit. There are some times where, maybe the step back is too many step backs.
Oh, FYI
Sometimes,
for this
sometimes,
game, LeBron James has 41 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists and 10 rebounds.
and they're only up by two right now. So that's all in vain here. But I will say that the series is pretty good. Indiana showing great improvement. If they can win the series, it's going to be to some it's going to be the shock of the quote unquote century, but
Yes.
it's going to be interesting. But
An
then the last
absolutely
series, the,
wonderful turn of
it would
events.
it would be great to have a different Eastern Conference representative. Not hating on LeBron, but I just want to see something different.
I mean, either you're with LeBron or you're just a hater, according to a
Uh,
lot of the Bron sexuals out there, aka the
but
LeBron maniacs.
But I don't know if you got a chance. Of course, this is completely outside of, our realm. This is more of a marking or smarking out kind of thing.
hmm
But I've almost given up on, the LeBrons and the Roman Reigns discussions.
Yeah,
You know,
it makes it more hard to, you know, be unbiased about something without sounding like a hater.
that's why I just say that, Roman is the big dog. He's the guy. It doesn't matter what we say or do. He has
Big
fans.
dog.
Men, women, children love him. They just so happen to not buy tickets to see him in the arenas.
Basically.
So he gets booed. I mean, if you want Roman to get over, go buy tickets. But the last series here, Boston and Milwaukee. Um, I think Boston's going to win this. Milwaukee hasn't really shown us.
No, they're a year away.
Yeah, they haven't
Next year will
shown
be the
us.
year. You're hearing it from me right now. Next year will be the year that you'll see the
Uh,
Bucks finally make a move.
it would be foolish, but I could see Milwaukee potentially picking up Whiteside and being okay.
I don't think they need Whiteside.
They don't, and that's why it would be foolish. But I could see them doing that.
Yeah, I can't see that. Oh, the game is now tied 95-95 with 33.6 seconds left. So we're going to do this live, ladies and gentlemen.
We're gonna do this live.
We're going to do
But what do
this
you think?
live.
What do you think about the Young Guns of Boston? Which I'm going to tell you, CJ's perspective, very, very interesting perspective. But what do you think
Mm,
about this young Boston team?
I love it. This is what I've been, pleading with my Knickerbockers, not to talk about the Knicks, but this is what I've been pleading for such a long time. Why don't you let the young men play?
Right. Now, here is what CJ told me on Monday. He's a Celtics fan,
Okay.
and he's claiming that the Celtic brass is going to make a splash. If they don't win the championship this year, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to make a splash. They're going to call the San Antonio Spurs and make a deal for Kawhi Leonard. And
I actually can see that.
they're going to have Kyrie, Hayward, and Kawhi on the same team. He said they're not going to trade both Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum. They're only going to trade one of them and some picks.
I think it'll be Jalen Brown.
That's what I said. But if I'm the Spurs, I need something else to sweeten the pot. So he said I could see them maybe sending like a Marcus Morris over there.
Mm-hmm.
But I would actually take Rozier too, because I don't know if they're sold on that the point guard of the future that they have there, Dejounte Murray. I don't think they're sold on him.
I think they
Um,
are.
you
I
think
think
so?
they are. I think they are. I think they are. That's highly possible.
You
Because
think so?
he's basically he did a good job this year taking over for Tony Park, which by itself is hard.
It is. It is. He's a future Hall of Famer.
He is a future Hall of Famer.
So it is tough. But
Oh,
see, but hold on.
game is still going down to the wire. LeBron James just caused a turnover, and Indiana now has the ball.
So this is where I thought CJ was tripping, and I think I mentioned it to him. He also said that the Celtics would acquire Boogie Cousins.
I think he might be smoking something.
Yeah, that one. That's what I said. I don't know. I told him I would mention it, that I'm not sure, but he said Boogie Cousins also,
I
and
don't
that's
think
why
Boogie is leaving
I don't think
New
so either.
Orleans. He is not leaving New Orleans at all. He's
I,
gonna
and
stay
I,
there, and the Pelicans are gonna build something that's gonna be very, very dangerous for the Western Conference.
the only thing I said, and I think I mentioned this last week, is if John Wall somehow gets out of his contract in Washington and they become the New Orleans Wildcats
I
or the
mean,
Kentucky Pelicans.
the Kentucky Pelicans.
And
All
because
they
I mean
need
that's
is
the only
the
thing I can
coach to
see.
come out of college to coach him.
Exactly. Because I mean, and we mentioned this off the show, and this is something, that we would discuss here,
Hmm.
splitting or considering the dying breed of the big twos, Bradley Beal, John Wall, CJ, and Dame. Is it time for them to move on, or do you give it one more year?
Uh-oh. 3.3 seconds left, and the game is still tied up.
This is where they go to
Overtime. And then this is
no,
what's gonna lead to the Cavs winning. I'm calling it right
no.
now.
This is when you give the ball and put it in Kyle Korver's hands.
I see what you did there.
You put the ball in Kyle Korver's hands. He's the quickest gun in the NBA. I mean, besides, I think he's quicker than JJ. I think.
Troll.
Oh my god! I mean, they're not gonna put it in LeBron's hand. They're gonna give this to JJ. I'm almost positive. I would be
Yeah,
shocked if they
so
don't.
Oladipo had a chance to win the game, but LeBron James got a block.
Of course he did. That's what LeBron does.
Goaltend? I mean, block?
Hey, TRL. Wait. But let's give them the final score. Or if we're going into overtime, let's see what happens. I'm sure there's a timeout where they're drawing up a play
Of
specifically
course they are. It's probably
for
happening right now.
for Kyle Korver. So stand by, ladies and gentlemen, as we complete this 3.3 seconds. It's got to be Korver,
It has to be.
to me at least.
Yeah, they're still on commercial.
Oh, those bastards. So
And we are finished. It is a 3-point shot made for the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are now up 3-2. And the winning basket was scored by Lebanon James.
wow, that's shocking. That's so
I
shocking
called
that
it. I did tell you
that they
that.
he must have just watched Paul George's ball game commercial.
Well, he got the ball, dribbled it up. Oh, he shot at the top of the key. That's an easy shot for him.
Mm,
In fact, that's the same spot that he got the other buzzer beater that he's been well known for.
true, true. But I guess with the end of that game is end game for us as well.
Yes, we are now in game, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for us to provide our final thoughts. You know what, sir? I don't mind to be rude, but I want to start.
Please.
You've heard how we mentioned how morally deprived the San Antonio Spurs were during this series, and that's because their head coach, Coach Popovich, lost his wife this week, which
Uh-huh.
is
Uh-huh.
terrible. And we want to send our condolences out to Coach Pop, his family, and all those affected by this tragic event that's happening. Um, I mean, and you could tell the very, very next game, game three, they was
Mm-hmm.
just they had no life in them, and it was just
Mm-hmm.
basically picking, shooting fish in a barrel, basically. And
Absolutely.
even to the point to where the head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr, wasn't necessarily ecstatic that his team won the game. Like, everyone basically walked off the floor with a heavy heart. And it was just something that, just shows how close knit the NBA family is. And that's with all four major sports. But, we're talking about one of the most popular coaches, one of the most successful coaches in the modern era right now. Not
Yeah, the
named Pat Riley, not named Phil Jackson.
no, definitely the modern day era.
I saw what you were about to do there. But like that's my major final thought. Like just the impact of things like that happening. Like and we talked about it. A few years ago when Craig Sager passed away and how much it impacted the NBA and like just hopefully Pop can come back to this and I would not hold it against him if he chooses to just walk away from the game to be with his family.
Absolutely, I can definitely see that. And honestly, I would be compelled to end the show with that final thought, actually, because I was just going to go over something, not so important. Um, so I'm compelled to end on that note
Absolutely.
and forego my final thought
Until
for
next week.
exactly for Coach Pop in this situation. But you're right; it is a family, and they've been posting videos, they've been posting support. Um, you could see the we could see the beginning of a new era in San Antonio, where it might be time for Pop to step down. They have a fantastic assistant coach in Ettore Messina. He's been with
Hmm.
them for years. He's actually in several coaching conversations, always have been. And I think that he could be the next man up. I think it could be a Belichick and a Belichick situation, not as deflating, of course, but I think Messina could step in and be the full-time coach as Tony Parker, as Ginobili. These guys retire. Maybe Messina just is the new coach of the Spurs.
I mean, he could, you could see the sunsetting on 3 Hall of Famers, including the coach, and the rise of some brand new young guns in the Alamo.
I mean, it's possible that, Popovich has been waiting for Tony Parker at Ginobili. I thought he was going to retire, when Tim Duncan left.
Yeah.
But he's, 70 years. He's been coaching since 1973.
And Twitter is now going ballistic because LeBron James hit a buzzer beater.
Hey, you know how Twitter is. But I think it could be a good year for him to step away. And Messina would be a great candidate.
Absolutely. Well, if you have nothing else, sir, I mean, I can introduce the track and we can let everyone enjoy some musical sounds and enjoy the rest of their night.
Yeah, go cheer for the Rockets.
Tonight's track, ladies and gentlemen, is by Apollo Brown. His 2015 album, Grandeur. The name of the track is actually the capstone track of this album. It's called Checkered Flags, featuring the Ugly Heroes. Be sure to check them out. We put the links in the description of the YouTube video, how to find him, contact his social media. Make sure you support the artist. Also, shout out to Croup Dog for always holding it down for us for our intro track for every single episode of Debate Amongst Friends. Be sure to check out the other shows that we have under Business Amongst Friends. Marking Out Amongst Friends with Jay Rich, aka Jay Ritty. Check out Duke It Out, featuring the Duke and the Duchess. And make sure you follow our social media at Debate Amongst Friends on Facebook, at Debate Amongst Fra on Twitter. You can follow our Instagram account at Debate Amongst Friends. You can listen to us offline on YouTube. You can listen to us offline on SoundCloud, Google Play Music, iTunes. We also have it on Stitcher, Tuned In, and any and all podcast application. Thank you very much for tuning in with us tonight, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I am your moderator, the Professor John Gotti.
And this is Dr. Wednesday Night.
And we'll catch you again next time, ladies and gentlemen. Goodbye, mwah, and good night. Bang, bang.
Taste the ocean.
Nothing's gonna stop me.
Damn right.
Nothing's gonna stop me.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. Apollo Brown. Yeah. Ugly Heroes. Yeah. Yeah, I can see the checker flag, make minutes stand still, checking on the second hand. Crazy how my head expand. Did it, fam? Yeah, check it. When shit was rough, this time would stand still. Dying like each could be my last meal. Broke up bricks using the hand scale. Graduated, asked me if I'm glad I made it. Should these songs outlive me? Let them automate a life. Annotated, master in the shit calm. Learn something from me, sit calm. Trust me, I have never been an understudy. Never been a funny guy. Homie, I'm hilarious. I'll lift you by your funny bone and throw you from my area. I've never been a victim, I'm the perpetrator of any consequences I'm living with. I'm the antagonist in this bitch. Try me, I'm immovable, unusual. Could give a fuck how many end up at my funeral. Methods unconventional and not in an ironic way. I'll grab a hipster rapper's mustache and rip it off his face. Win-win when we weigh options. You lose any way the dice roll, homie. Time to pay homage. Yeah, I can see the checkered flag. Make minutes stand still, checking on the second hand. Crazy how my head expand. Yeah, we did it, fam. Yeah, what up? Yeah, I can see the end game. Went from a wimp to a sensei. Used to play the middle like a Wednesday. Word perfect with the pen game. I put this shit on everything. I'm never settling to lesser things, to better things. Never consider what they ever think. Got better things to look for, a greater good to push towards. I made a path and took mine. You made a path and took yours. But good Lord, I never thought I'd make it this far. I grow another piece of me for every part I discard. Every step they followed, I make sure to take another route. Shout out to Apollo and Verbal, I call them brothers now. Older I get, the less my shoulder is chipped. I know my past, so fuck the doubts, I'm getting over that shit. Confidence got me feeling like it doesn't matter where I go. I'm used to being backed into a corner, man, that's where I'm home. That's where you feel alive, thrive, and learn to survive. There isn't shame in finding strength in someone hurting your pride. I'm learning to control my doubt and channel it, make it a strength. We all got demons that we battle with.
Yeah, I can see the checkered flag. Make minutes stand still, checking on the second hand. Crazy how my head expands. Yeah, we did it, fam. Yeah, what up? Yeah, I can see the end game. Went from a wimp to a sensei. Used to play the middle like a Wednesday. Word perfect with the pen game.
Let your golden light shine one more time for me. Your golden light shine one more time for me. Your golden light shine one more time for me. Your golden light shine one more time.